Hi, and welcome to my Azure Quick Hits video series. In this video, we're going to show how to connect Azure NetApp Files to an AVS environment and mount it as a data store. So building on the infrastructure we constructed in the last video, you can see we're going to add in Azure NetApp Files. And the first thing you'll notice is that Azure NetApp Files is accessed via ExpressRoute. So we will have to build a vNet and an ExpressRoute virtual network gateway. But the first thing we actually need to do is to register the Azure NetApp Files inside the subscription. And we do that by opening up the subscription, scrolling down till we get to resource providers, and then filter by name. We're just going to type in Microsoft.NetApp, click on the status, and if it's not a green check mark, click on register and wait for it to go green. Next, we have to create a virtual network. This is where we're going to put our virtual network gateway. So just click on create. The resource group we're going to put it in is our demo resource group here. The name is going to be the AVS vNet. And the region's West US 2. Next IP addresses, kill the one that's default, add in the one that I've got assigned for this. Oh, it's got a space in front of it. Okay, and then we're going to add a subnet. And the subnet name is going to be gateway subnet. And the IP range for this one is going to be /26. We can add that one. And then we'll create another subnet, Azure NetApp Files, or ANF subnet, and we'll do the same thing. Change this to 128, add a 26, click on add. Right, once we've got this in place, we can click create and then click on create once the validation is passed. Once that's complete, click on go to resource and then click on subnets and choose the ANF subnet. And down here under delegate subnet to a service, we're going to type in Microsoft.NetApp and choose this one, Microsoft NetApp Volumes. Click on Save. Once that's complete, go to the blue bar and type in Virtual Network Gateways. So now we're going to build the Virtual Network Gateway here, which is the connection point between the Azure VMware Solution and the Azure NetApp Files. To do that, we're going to go to Virtual Network Gateways, click on Create, and make sure we've filled in everything correctly here. So this will be the Azure NetApp Files AVS Gateway. We're going to build this in West US 2, where our AVS location is. And then here we're going to choose the SKU. So from this list of SKUs, there's really two that are supported. Let me choose that ExpressRoute first. And that's going to be standard and ultra performance. Standard you could use for VMs with normal workloads, not particularly high I/O requirements. But if you're doing anything that requires SQL, database, or anything with high I/O, then choose ultra performance. There's a pretty significant cost difference, so make sure you do your analysis up front to determine what you're going to use this additional storage for. Okay, so we're going to choose standard. The virtual network, you're going to see here AVS vNet, right? And then under the subnet, it's going to automatically populate the gateway subnet because we pre-created that. We're going to create a new public IP, so we'll just call this the ANF AVS gateway, and we can leave that as a basic. Click on tags. We don't need any tags. Review and create. Check we've got everything right. So our subnet's correct. Yes, the SKU is correct. And we can click on create. This deployment takes anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes to complete. So while we're waiting for that, let's switch to a different tab and create our Azure NetApp Files account. So we'll click on create, give it a name, and then choose the resource group, which is going to be our West US 2, and the location auto-populates to West US 2, and click on create. Once that's finished, click on go to resource, and then the first thing we want to do is create a capacity pool. So we're going to add a pool called the ANF AVS pool. The service level, here's where we choose the premium, standard, or ultra, and this is the performance I/O profile. Size 4 terabyte, that is the minimum size, 4 terabytes, and the QoS type, we are just going to leave it on auto. If we select manual, then later we will have the option to actually set QoS profiles for different volumes. Once the pool has been created, we can go to volumes, add a volume. The volume we're going to call this is ANF AVS demo vol 01. It's going to be in the capacity pool. Now we see if we had multiple capacity pools under this account, it would show us the different capacity pools. The quote in gigabyte, the minimum is 100. We have to choose the virtual network, so we're going to select the one that we created at the start. And then you're going to see automatically it's going to populate it with the ANF subnet that we created. So we could have actually done the virtual network creation here. I like to do it ahead of time and create the virtual network gateway first. If we click on Show Advanced, it's just going to give us some NetApp options for this. We're not going to use those at the moment. Click Next, Protocols. We will choose NFS in this case. It populates the file path, NFS. LDAP enabled or disabled. In our case, disabled. We're not going to use the LDAP service. And the one key piece we need here is we have to click on this button. Otherwise, we will not be able to see it from AVS and add it as a data store. So next, review and create, and create. And then once that's complete, we can go to Resource, where we can see we've now got 100 gigabyte volume. Notice here it says change throughput. If we'd set that QoS to manual, this is where we could modify the QoS for this particular volume. All right, let's switch tabs and go back to the Azure VMware Solution. So we'll open up our SDDC, and then we're going to choose connectivity. And under connectivity, we're going to go to ExpressRoute. We need a key to create the circuit between AVS and the ExpressRoute gateway that we built on the vNet that's attached to the Azure NetApp Files. So you can see I've actually got one here from my previous lab. And so if I wanted to create a new one, I would just click on Request Authorization Key, but I'm going to use this one because we can, because it's not in use right now. So copy to keyboard, switch tabs, the deployment's complete, that's great. So now let's go to Virtual Network Gateways. Here's our Virtual Network Gateway. We're going to click on Connections, and we're going to add a connection. And you'll notice that the connection is from the Virtual Network Gateway is to AVS for ANF. I always try and use really explicit names so I know exactly what it was for. The type of connection we're going to do is an express route, and we're going to redeem the authorization key. So here's where we put the key in that we just copied. And then the peer circuit URI, that is actually this one, the express route ID. Click on Copy to Keyboard, go back, paste that in there, and that's all we need to do. Click OK. This will take, again, 2 to 3 minutes to create, and then we will have established the connection between AVS and the vNet where ANF sits, so now we can actually mount that volume we created. So we can see the connection is actually made here. So now let's go back to AVS, and we're going to go down to Storage, and we're going to connect Azure NetApp Files volume. So we'll choose the NetApp account, ANF NetApp account. We'll choose the storage pool we created, and we'll select the volume we created. Okay, down here, client cluster, we're going to choose cluster 1. And the data store name, we're going to call this AVS ANF DS1. Click on Connect. And again, this will take a minute or two to actually complete. While we're waiting for that, let's go take a look at our SDDC, and if we do a refresh on this, make sure it's current, you're going to see we have a couple of volumes here, including one called AVS ANF DS1, and we can see this is a 100 gigabyte data store. So if we go back to, let's see, go to Resource, go to the private cloud, click on Storage, we're now going to see that there is a storage volume called AVS Demo V01, and that is our data store, AVS ANF DS1. All right, well, I hope this was helpful. As you can see, we've now configured our ANF data store for AVS. I hope this was helpful. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comment section below, and like the video. Thanks, bye for now.